People have asked us, how are you so calm? And how can there be so much peace? After Nancy's last MRI, we were told by the doctors that there were no more treatment options. No more chemotherapy. Another surgery would just take more from her. No trials. The Optune was not working. That's when we faced what we had slowly been realizing. Nancy was not going to get better. And yet God gave us so much peace. Hi, my name's Steve, and I've been sharing our story about my wife Nancy's journey with brain cancer. I wanted to share our first few months after diagnosis. We had no experience with brain cancer. Everything that we experienced was new and raw. We were definitely learning as we went. Following the initial surgery, there's usually about a month waiting period before you start the radiation and chemotherapy. Nancy was actually recovering pretty well during that month. She was released from the hospital, actually regained quite a bit of strength and could actually walk around our home with just the use of a hurricane, like a footed cane with three little prongs coming off and a little bit of assistance on the gait belt. In fact, by July 4th, we were very encouraged with her stamina. She looked great, she felt great, but yet we learned quickly that that wasn't going to be the case for much longer. In fact, it was at the end of that July 4th weekend, Nancy had her first major setback. I noticed it because she started getting disoriented, very confused, weak. All of the sudden, she went from being able to walk around with her cane to not being able to even get up off of the sofa. And that was very alarming how quickly that setback came. Once we reported what we were seeing to the neurosurgeons, they set us up with another MRI. We were just about ready to start the radiation and chemotherapy phase of her treatment. And they, once they saw the results of the MRI, they said, nope, you're coming back to the hospital because Nancy's tumor had actually doubled in size. So the part that was left actually doubled in size. So that delayed her radiation and chemotherapy until they could figure out what was going on. They put her on a super high dose of steroids to try to get the swelling under control and also manage any potential seizures that she might have. So instead of moving on with radiation and chemotherapy, Nancy was hospitalized for a couple of weeks. Once they felt that the tumor was kind of contained or the growth was slowed down enough, they felt strongly she needed to begin that radiation to hopefully stop any more progression, which is what we started. Nancy was set up with 6 weeks of radiation, 5 days a week, so that's 30 treatments, and things were going along great. She's taking her oral temodar or temozolomide. It's an oral chemo along with that radiation. She seemed to be tolerating it very well until the last week of treatment. It was right about day 25 or 26 that we noticed some really bizarre symptoms. It actually happened on a follow-up visit with our medical oncologist. We were sitting in his office and he was just doing some examination and asking her about her symptoms when all of a sudden she started having a nosebleed, just trickle of blood coming down here. And he stopped and he said, has that been happening fairly frequently? We said, no, but for the last couple of days we've definitely noticed a bloody nose. And so he quickly ordered some blood work, redid her vitals. Her blood pressure was just dropping like a rock. And the blood work came back showing that her blood platelet counts had fallen to a dangerously low level. In fact, before we even got home from that follow-up visit, the nurse on the line had already instructed us to turn back around and head to the emergency room because Nancy needed to get admitted to get her blood levels back to where they needed to be. it was really kind of concerning to the doctors how low her platelets got. When your platelets are really low, you're at danger of bleeding out. You can have internal bleeds or brain bleeds, or if you cut yourself or fall, what might just be a bruise for most people can actually lead to very, very serious situation. So the platelets were very concerning. It was figured out after a bone marrow biopsy that the problem was an accumulated effect of the chemotherapy drug in her body that was causing the bone marrow to stop producing the platelets. Our daily rhythm then consisted of me getting Nancy up in the morning, helping her get dressed, go to the bathroom, brush teeth, all the morning chores, make breakfast. Nancy was typically having her breakfast while sitting in a wheelchair at our dining room table. And then she would typically sit up, maybe watch a show on her iPad. If it's nice, we would go outside and enjoy some of the fall weather. And then she would take a nap. I would feed her lunch, a little more resting, maybe visiting with people that came by, make dinner, and then start the process to get ready for bed and then do it all over. Mixed in though, each day, there was typically at least one visit from either a therapist that came in home, or we'd have to load up in the car and go see one of her doctors. At this point, we were seeing a medical oncologist, a radiation oncologist, a neurosurgeon, a neurologist. She also has a heart issue, so every now and then there would be a cardiology appointment as well as a primary care physician. Lots and lots of doctor appointments. We were really living one day at a time. I didn't think too far into the future because it really didn't matter. I was realizing that things were going to be changing on a regular basis. From the time between Memorial Day to August 1st, this was a really, really tough period. Not only were we facing this diagnosis, hospitalized for a lot of this, and some of the setbacks that I just mentioned, Nancy also had 3 major life events that she was not able to be a part of. Nancy was really sad to not be able to attend our niece's wedding. And I remember at the hospital helping Nancy get dressed. I actually brought in the dress that she was going to wear had she been able to go to the wedding. So she got dressed up, had her hair done, and a couple of our kids FaceTimed us for some of the wedding and then part of the wedding reception as well, so we could, see the people and be able to talk to our niece and, just feel as much as possible a part of that wedding. In addition, while Nancy was hospitalized, her mom passed away. Now, her mom had been in a nursing care facility for a while. Her health had been failing. It really wasn't a surprise. Nancy wanted to go to the funeral, but the doctor said with such a low blood count, it's too dangerous. So the kids and I represented the family the best that we could. Nancy had a friend come and stay with her, and I FaceTimed during that funeral, and so that Nancy could be a part of her mom's funeral. It was tough, Nancy not to be able to be a part of that. And then the third major event was our oldest daughter and son-in-law gave birth to their first child and our first grandchild. And for months before Nancy's diagnosis, she and our daughter Gracie had planned for Nancy to be in the delivery room, to kind of be a coach, to be there with her. And the fact that she couldn't participate, couldn't be there to support our daughter was really tough. Yeah, this cancer stinks. I mean, it's crummy. All the yeah, she had to miss so much. We've been fortunate and blessed to have a wonderful support system through this entire process. Started from the very beginning. Once word got out that Nancy had a brain tumor and was going to have surgery, we had lots of folks come to the hospital just to visit, to check in, to pray, just to hang out, to bring flowers. Once Nancy got home, someone from our church set up a meal train. And if you're not familiar what that is, it's basically an online sign-up system where people who get a link sent to them can sign up to bring a meal to the family. There are lots of options. You can put in dietary restrictions, likes, dislikes. Some people brought homemade meals. Other people picked up meals from restaurants. Some folks just sent gift cards so that I could run out and get something, that Nancy, wanted, something that sounded good to her. We didn't get a meal every day, probably on average 4 meals a week, which was, plenty because it was usually just the two of us at home. And people, they made a lot of food. So we would have leftovers and, have containers. And the people that brought our food were great because some of them would want to hang out for a while and chat. Others, just felt more comfortable just dropping them off. So that was great. So if you're looking for a way to support a family that's going through a medical crisis like this, mealtrain.com. Check it out. It was wonderful for our family. We also had, besides our own family coming over, other friends just from our life, old friends and new friends both would come. In fact, it became to the point where so many people wanted to come over that I actually had to institute kind of a scheduling system. Actually ask people to go through me, and I could kind of keep a master schedule of a calendar of who's coming and when, so that we didn't have more than 1 or 2 visits on a given day. And that was really helpful. And people really understood. They didn't want to overwhelm. A visit should never be a burden. It should be a joy. And Nancy and I also developed kind of a code system. When she was getting tired, she would kind of give me a signal, and then I could say something like, it's time for Nancy's nap, or, we need to make a meal or something like that. And people would quickly get the hint and say, we need to go. We also had 3 friends from the very beginning that have stayed with us. 2 sisters, which they are both occupational therapists, and another friend who's a registered nurse. And not only have they helped us navigate the recovery and all of the medical jargon and appointments, they're just great to hang out with. They bring a lot of joy and they laugh and really kind of lighten the mood. And because we see them so often, they're able to help me notice changes that are happening for Nancy that I might miss because I'm with her all the time. Everyone's cancer journey is a little bit different. Ours has been full of people, full of friends, lots of support, and we've been very open about what's happening in our lives. I do weekly Facebook updates. I post those on Sunday, sometimes with pictures throughout the week, but definitely enough text so that people get a picture of what's happening. And that was our own personal choice. I know other people use Caring Bridge. I've known other people who don't even talk about it. They just want to keep it totally private. There's not a right answer, but for our family, sharing openly felt right. We believe in community. We believe that we serve a big God, and the more people that are supporting us and praying with us and for us, the better. And so that's how we decided to roll, and it's been great. People offer advice on what kind of diet you should have, what kind of supplements Nancy should take, what kind of non-medical drugs might be helpful. We get articles, sent, links to websites, and we love it all. Everything that's been done is in good intention and out of the right place in people's hearts. But I'll be honest, it's a little overwhelming as a caregiver who's living in it to sort through it all. So some of it I would ask friends and family to, hey, check this out, let me know what you think. And others I just kindly said, thank you, we appreciate the advice. We'll take a look at it. We're open to anything, and we'd have to evaluate and then also check in with our medical team. And often, truthfully, the medical doctors, if it's not FDA approved and if it's not part of their standard of care, we discovered, as great as they are, they're really not open to those alternative treatments. Even things like supplements, they cautioned us against, like multivitamins even, or probiotics, said, nah, don't take them because you don't know the interaction with the other drugs that we've prescribed. So that was our story. You might have a different story or know someone that's taken a different path. Recently, the team of doctors informed us that they really don't have any more options for treatment for Nancy. The chemotherapy really destroyed her body's production of platelets, so more chemotherapy is not an option. The neurosurgeon explained that if she did more surgery to try to remove some more of the tumor, it would actually cause more deficit for Nancy. As it stands right now, being paralyzed on the left side has been a really, really difficult thing for her. When you couple that with the other weaknesses of just the recovery and the brain tumor. So no one feels that more surgery is a good option. The radiation oncologist also says, I really can't do any more radiation. Trials have been mentioned. Our medical oncologist vetted that out. And because Nancy had breast cancer less than 5 years ago, that disqualified her from any other trials that would be close by. And honestly, she made it very clear she didn't want to travel all over the country. At this point, she wants to be home, close to family, around her friends, where she's most comfortable, where she can hold her grandson. And I get it. I get it. So after looking over all of the pieces of information that have brought us to this point after almost 7 months, Nancy let me know it was time to call hospice. You call hospice when the disease is terminal and you're basically saying, I am not going to pursue any more treatment. So no more chemo, no more surgery, no more trying to stop the growth of the tumor. At this point, Nancy realizes, with the exception of a healing miracle, Nancy realizes that the tumor is going to do what the tumor does, and that is grow. And we believe that our days are numbered. God knows what those days are, and she is at peace with that. Now, it doesn't make us happy. We've shed a lot of tears. It's hard to understand. Saying I'm at peace doesn't mean giving up. It's not a cop-out saying, I don't believe in treatment. But it is something that our faith has allowed us to get to the point where we are. Being at peace is an amazing thing, because the opposite would be living with a life of anxiety, frustration, fear. And that's no way, in our opinion, a way to live out your final weeks, months, or years. Which, speaking of, I've been on a number of the Facebook groups for glioblastomas, and there are stories all over about people, living past the 5-year mark, 8 years, 10 years, 15 years. So please hear me. There is hope. But in our situation, I can see the signs of decline in Nancy. The medical team sees the signs of decline in Nancy. And when they say we are out of options, we knew it was time to focus on quality of life, the quality of the life she has left, and not worry anymore about trying to chase down some way to stop the tumor. So that's why we called hospice. That's why she took off the Optune device, because it was clear it wasn't doing for her what it was supposed to do, or what it could do. For other people, it works. And for other people, the standard of care, they've reached a great length of longevity. But for Nancy, it was time to focus on the quality and not the quantity. And I don't say that lightly. It's taken us weeks of discussion and mulling that over and praying about it and just being at peace with where she is. She's young. And to say your life is coming to an end when we had dreamed about so many more years together. We have so many dreams and plans that we haven't realized. That, for me, that's the real hard part. And it seems selfish to talk about the things that I didn't get to do with her. And that's the part that makes me mad. That's the part that I really hate. Because we got to the point where we were just going to have the time to be able to do the things that we wanted to do. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be angry, frustrated. But it doesn't change anything. So for us, choosing peace, knowing that God has a bigger plan that we don't understand, helps. And for some of you, I know you're going to think that's weird, crazy, you're not going to get it. And like I said, everybody has to walk their own journey. But for us, a journey of faith is what's helping us get through this. And the bottom line is, Nancy has to be the one. The person with the disease has to be the one to reach that point when they say, enough. So, how can we be so calm? How can Nancy have so much peace knowing that you're months away from dying? Well, I can only say it's because she is certain of her eternity. And if you are a Christ follower, a person of faith, that'll make sense to you. It doesn't mean it's easy, but we believe that she's going to be in heaven and that one day we'll be reunited with her. And we have to stand on that. And that's what our faith can do for us. And if that sounds intriguing to you and you want to know more, write in the comments, tell me more. Or find somebody in your life that you know is a person of faith and ask them how this could be. Tell them our story and ask, how could a person who is near death, how can they be so calm and live a life of peace? What is this faith journey, faith in Jesus all about? Can you explain it to me? Because it might just help. Well, that's going to be it for this video. The purpose really was to get you all caught up on what those early months were like. I'm not really going to go back and talk much about the past. What I am going to focus on the next set of videos is what our life is like on the daily now. I really want to capture Nancy living her life while she is still able to talk and move around. I want to get her in front of the camera so that you can see how amazing she is. And I'm going to ask her to tell a little bit about her story and how she feels, how she's felt, and what she wants in these last weeks, months, or maybe even years of her life. So thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, put them down below. Please feel free to share our story with anyone that you think it might be helpful. That's the purpose right now for this channel, Tin Can Ramblers. It was supposed to be a travel and adventure channel. And who knows, maybe that'll come in the future, but for right now, this is our life, and this is the adventure we're living one day at a time. So until next time, thanks for watching, and have a great day.